Hello folks, it is your buddy Ardent Party back again with, unfortunately I was hoping to do more about the political history of Newfoundland today, but it seems to be political current events that take our attention today. So as you can see by the thumbnail, the Ode to Newfoundland has again been scrapped from MUN's convocation ceremonies. And we'll go through some of the developments that have occurred around that now. Personally, for me, I'm an alumnus of MUN. I did go to school there. I did not graduate because I made the poor choice to, we'll say, major in alcohol studies. But in any case, this story is somewhat close to my heart for a couple of reasons. I do have a great fondness for this province and this former country. I have a deep and abiding respect for the people who gave their lives in the First World War to help protect Newfoundland as part of the British Empire, which is also, by the way, where the name Memorial comes from. And I happen to think that the Ode to Newfoundland is one of the most beautiful songs ever written. But that's me, and I may be slightly biased. In any case, we'll get into these stories here now. I have to hit my cough button for just a second. My apologies, what I expected to be a single cough turned into a bit of a fit. In any case, as you can see from this story from Saltwater, the Ode to Newfoundland has again been scrapped from MUN's convocation ceremonies. The Ode to Newfoundland will not be heard at MUN graduation ceremonies again this year, and this is contributed. Memorial University students will not hear the Ode to Newfoundland during convocation ceremonies this year, as university officials consult with groups on a future plan for its convocation events. The university said it plans to form a committee to talk with Indigenous students, Labradorians, and international students about the inclusivity of its ceremonies. But not Newfoundlanders themselves. What? Of course, it's not completely inclusive. These people chose to study in Newfoundland, in a different country, or under a different culture. If the Labradorians or the Indigenous have such an issue with feeling excluded, then by all means they are welcome to start their own universities. No one is stopping them. Singing of the province's official anthem was discontinued at convocation ceremonies last fall. On May 9th, Memorial's Senate voted to continue pausing the use of the song while it consulted with the groups. The decision was made at the recommendation of the Senate Committee on Honorary Degrees and Ceremonial. Is that meant to be honorary degrees and ceremonies? MUN President Neil Bowes, who we will hear from shortly, said the decision to remove the anthem from convocation was made to create safer and more welcoming spaces for all students. Safer spaces. Because university is not supposed to be a place where you challenge yourself to go through hard times. We have heard the different reactions from many in the community, and we apologize for the approach taken in making the initial decision. We are committed to working together with representatives from the different communities and groups, internal and external to the university, to consider the continued evolution of our convocation ceremonies. Yes, different communities and groups, as long as they're not, those horrible native Newfoundlanders who actually, provide your funding through taxes. And I do apologize, this is turning slightly into For Fuck's Sakes Friday. Just skipping through here. MUN Senate is to discuss. That was December last year. Ode to Newfoundland should have been changed to include Labrador a long time ago. I disagree, mostly because of the unique historical nature of Newfoundland. In any case, I did say we would hear from Dr. Bowes in just a moment, and we will now. The MUN president understands the backlash to the Ode decision. Oh, I truly don't think he does. But in any case, we'll move along. I'm very tempted to figure out exactly where Mr. Bose is from. I have heard him speak, and I know he is not a native Newfoundlander. The interim president of Memorial says the strong response to MUN's decision to pause use of the Ode to Newfoundland during convocation ceremonies is understandable, especially given the route taken to get where they are now. Memorial University was created as a living memorial to the soldiers who made the supreme sacrifice in World War I. And for my viewers who are wondering when I will move slightly away from the very dry political stuff to some of the slightly more meaty historical stuff, especially the war history, I will be coming to it eventually. I do apologize for keeping you waiting. I think some of the preamble is necessary. The Ode was removed from last year's fall convocation, and its inclusion in this spring's ceremonies, which have probably already passed, I believe, will remain paused until a consultation process is completed. Dr. Neil Bose told Your VOCM Mornings that the process used last year resulted in removal of the Ode before it should have been, and for that he apologizes. He says, quote, "If we'd followed through on the approach taken now, things would have been potentially different, and so that's what my apology reflects." That's not an apology. That's, gee, sorry we did this in such a way that you didn't have, that we didn't, sneak it up on you. Conception Bay lawyer Doug Moores told VOCM Open Line with Patty Daly he can't believe the decision, calling it, quote, out of touch. He believes Memorial is losing the goodwill of the people. I can certainly agree with Mr. Moores and say that they've certainly lost my goodwill. And being that I am, as I said, an alumnus of MUN, having attended there several times, no, I'm not pleased by any means. And the final part of the story, the Newfoundland government, NL, may look at trying to force MUN to reinstate the Ode to Newfoundland. Provincial Affairs Minister says legislation is, quote, always up for discussion. Here we are. Newfoundland and Labrador's Provincial Affairs Minister says government is open to looking at whether they can force Memorial to include the Ode to Newfoundland in convocation ceremonies. The situation came to a head in October when the university put a pause on using the provincial anthem during all MUN graduation ceremonies, halting a tradition dating back to the 50s. Basically, when the university was completed, I would think. During question period on Thursday, PCMHA Barry Pettin, PC being Progressive Conservatives, for those of you who are not in the know, called on Municipal and Provincial Affairs Minister Krista Lynn Howell to amend the Provincial Anthems Act, and try to demand the university reinstate the song at its convocation ceremonies. With any legislation in this House of Assembly, it's always up for discussion and there's always things that we can improve on, Howell was quoted saying in response. And further quote, in our department, that's certainly something we will take into consideration. Earlier this week, members of the House of Assembly protested the song's removal from inside the legislature by breaking into a sing-along. I will actually copy that link, and we might very well have a look at that shortly. Just one moment. And can I pause that before it starts playing? I don't even have to wait. Oh, is it trying to autoplay? Just one moment, folks. I do apologize.
Thank you, Speaker.
There we are. We will pause this. Pause this. Thank you. I do believe this is going to attempt to... Okay, we will kill that ad and let it play. Earlier this week, members of the House of Assembly protested the song's removal from inside the legislature by breaking into a sing-along and following it up with a rendition of the Ode to Labrador. That's curious. I've never actually heard the Ode to Labrador, so I'm kind of curious about that. On Thursday, Pettin said his party would, quote, ensure fast passage of any legislation relating to the Ode. You have our word, he said. Now, for those of you unaware, when, at least generally, a Newfoundlander says, you have my word, it's generally something you can trust. In any case, in response to one of Pettin's questions, Culture Minister Steve Crocker said he spoke with MUN on Wednesday. He said the university has, quote, made a mistake. Quote, let's be clear about it. This is the anthem of the people of Newfoundland and Labrador, along with the Ode to Labrador, he said. We'll continue to advocate to have this discussion reversed, continuing the quote. Obviously, the university has autonomy here. We look at the measures available to us to have this resolved once and for all. And Municipal and Provincial Affairs Minister Krista Lynn Howell is pictured here. MUN is standing its ground and defending its decision to drop the song. Okay, So I'm going to ask a simple question here. Why are you having consultations if your decision is made? Why are you apologizing? Why are you talking about considering it further? Because you don't want to be told no. Yes, and the song was dropped ahead of its first convocation ceremony of the spring in Cornerbrook next week. Now, I have to check the date of this, 12th. That would be 4 days ago, so that would probably be sometime this week. Crocker said leaving the anthem out of the ceremony shows a, quote, lack of respect for the House of Assembly. I would like to remind Mr. Crocker, since he is a politician representing Newfoundlanders, that in fact, sir, this is not disrespect of your position or your institution. It is disrespect of the entire culture of Newfoundland. Get your ideals and priorities correct before you attempt to represent the people of this province. Meanwhile, MUN President Neil Bowes told CBC News on Thursday there's no lack of respect for the House. Rather, the university, quote, has to follow through on its collegial governance process. In other words, we've let the madmen into the House, and, well, now they're in charge. And there's nothing we can apparently do about it. MUN, this is a quote, and I am injecting the word MUN here, MUN does have a degree of autonomy. It's not part of the government, and we're also the future of Newfoundland and Labrador and the future of Canada. And we blah. Sorry, my apologies. English is not that easy a language, even for those of us who grew up speaking it. It does have a degree of autonomy, MUN. It's not part of the government, but it's funded by the government. And we're also the future of Newfoundland and Labrador and the future of Canada, and we represent also the future of the world. That sounds a lot like Fauci, doesn't he? An attack on me is an attack on science. The convocation is about students. It's about a celebration for students or of students graduating. They're graduates who are crossing the stage, so it's important that it represents them. It's not just about the university. It's not just about the province. Okay, Mr. Bowes, and yes, I will not give you your honorific of doctor in this point because you are not educated on this particular topic, clearly. When it comes to showing respect for the place that funds the institution you are running, taking out its national anthem is disrespectful. It is abhorrent. You are committing, it's not much of a shock, you're an academic, you are committing what amounts to cultural terrorism. Bowes said recommendations made from a committee of Indigenous students, Labradorians, international students, and other key groups. Again, I challenge you to tell me that any of these groups are in fact, and I just realized something, my apologies, I forgot to put the right banner up. But I would challenge you to tell me that these students are in any shape native Newfoundlanders. Yes, I see Indigenous, and I see Labradorian. But what about Newfoundlanders? The students who were raised and educated in Newfoundland and then chose to stay in Newfoundland to go to post-secondary at MUN. Are you talking to those people? It says other key groups, but yeah. Bowes said recommendations made from these groups may very well include bringing back the Ode to Newfoundland, but also include the singing of the Ode to Labrador. My feeling is that if you choose to do that, that's actually more inclusive than what you've done here by excluding the entire nation of Newfoundland. If that call is made, however, he said the songs still exclude Indigenous and international students. You do know there's a lot of Indigenous in Labrador, right? There's quite a few in Newfoundland, too. And we don't look at someone from, say, Conn River and say, oh, you're not a Newfoundlander. We don't do that. We look at them and we go, oh, you're a Newfoundlander and you're also native. And you're a native Newfoundlander if you were born in Newfoundland. Yeah, but we're the bastards, right? Idiots. This is a continuing quote. The things that we are doing have that context as well. In a way, a beacon of reconciliation too. It is not the mandate of Memorial University to find reconciliation for the natives within Canada. We weren't part of Canada until 49, you twit. You're clearly not a history doctor either. But we have to do the right thing to reconcile what has been a colonialist institution. What? Oh, so you're a cultural Marxist. That's nice to know. Said Bose, quote again, "This university, any university, tends to try to be at least a progressive institution." Yeah, about that, you're in Newfoundland. We're one of the more conservative cultures on the planet, and there's a good reason for that. We're a good culture. Or at least, mostly we are. My haranguing my fellow Newfoundlanders about what happened during Confederation notwithstanding. And so we will occasionally step outside of the box to do that. What box? Progressivism has a very systematic progress. It's got a very systematic protocol. Destroy what was there before, create progression. Seems pretty conservative in a sense, don't you think? It's not exactly dynamic. And this is Josh Leposki, President-elect of MUN's Faculty Association, says the university needs to remain autonomous. Josh, you're funded by the government. You aren't autonomous. You are the Memorial University of Newfoundland. You don't get to be autonomous. Needs to remain autonomous from government. I'm willing to give you that one. Somewhat. But, and this is a quote, "As soon as government interference is direct, then that has all kinds of consequences that are quite important." Yes, they might actually prevent you from vandalizing our culture. And I had to control myself rather rigorously about my swearing there. Depending on your point of view, this particular issue, this appears to be a further quote from Mr. Leposki. Depending on your point of view, this particular issue might seem like not quite such a big deal about government interference, but very quickly get into broader issues that are very tangly. Ooh, spooky. That's so scary. Yeah. Pull the other one. And here we are. Education Minister John Hagee said he wants to see the song reinstated. For the record, and I do apologize to Minister Hagee if I have this wrong, but from his accent, he sounds British. He doesn't sound like a native Newfoundlander. And yet, I don't have any levers to pull. This is Hagee quoting, or being quoted rather. Because if I did, I would have pulled them. Whether the solution is legislation, or whether the solution lies in another direction will be discussions I'll be having with Memorial's Board of Regents chair and the interim president, he said. And a further quote, "We need to recognize, historically, Memorial University is exactly that. It is a memorial to the fallen of Newfoundland and Labrador. It is also a cultural icon, and we need to be linking our heritage with our educational establishments, because that's a sense of who we are." Minister Hagee, that is very well said. However, you're dealing with iconoclasts. Cultural Marxists who are dedicated to the idea of vandalizing everything that came before their ideology. We have seen this over and over for over a century. These people don't care. They don't give a damn about anything but their own power and their own agendas. What they want is to create the progressive utopia that can't happen. You know why it can't happen? Because human nature exists. And I do apologize, this is intended to be Terra Nova Tuesday. This is meant to be slightly more academic and scholarly, or at the very least an examination of Newfoundland news. I don't like to editorialize a lot here. Couldn't really help it. If you guys disagree with my opinion, by all means let me know in the comments. You can like, share, subscribe this video. Subscribe to my channel, like and share this video, comment on this video. By all means, I absolutely welcome it. If you are a native Newfoundlander, and by that I mean someone born and raised in Newfoundland, or if you are from the diaspora, from the Newfoundland diaspora, by all means, make yourself heard. Let me know what you think about this. I don't necessarily, and I do have to admit, I don't personally necessarily agree with the idea that government be involved. But when the foreign cultural Marxists who are infiltrating the institutions have decided that the culture that stood for 300 years and then some isn't acceptable anymore? Yeah, makes you wonder. In any case, guys, you can also find me on Rumble. I'm on Truth Social, Twitter. No, actually, sorry. My Twitter account is... it's a bit of a gray area, to say the least. I know some of you probably have sussed out where I am on Twitter. Mostly, I don't do a lot of big work on Twitter. But I have a Getter account, Truth Social. You can find me on Discord. I am getting ready to open the Discord up. I think it will probably work, but at this point I'm doing invitation only for the moment. Let me see. I am working on getting my merch store sorted. That's being strange. I have to contact the retailer again, see exactly what's going on, because I have uploaded one design, and yet I don't know what the issue is, why it isn't visible to other people. Let me see, what else do I have going on? I believe that's it. As some of you will be aware, the Shademaster has put an indefinite hold on our RPG, The Shades of Dominion, on Thursdays. Speaking of RPGs, my friend Christopher Everard, my friend Trim, and my friend Florian and I are planning to have the second session of the the Hunter the Reckoning game sometime in the near future, possibly within the next week or two. Speaking of both RPGs and the next week, on Monday you will be able to find me on Discordant Dragons with my friend Yiz the Eunuch and probably a few other people. Well, almost certainly a few other people. Who those people will be, I'm yet to be sure. I don't believe there's a heck of a lot else going on. And of course, join me on Sunday at 11. Change the time again. 11 Newfoundland Time for my regular Sunday stream on Rumble. Hopefully that will work. The banner of which was displayed for most of this video, and I do apologize. Other than that, I don't believe I have a lot else to share. But I will point out, and I do want to leave with this final thought, that if no one else will defend your culture, it is left to you. And if it ends up being a fight of one, then your culture's already dead. In any case, I hope you're all having good days. I hope you continue to have good days. And rise again, until lambs become lions. Bye-bye. Yes, I would like to stop recording. Thank you, computer.